The WNBA don't want you there, man. Crazy, folks. The WNBA, who wants coverage, does not want media there. Why? They want to control the narrative. Think this is wild? Let's talk about it. But before we do, hit the intro. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Her Game, Her Way Women's Basketball, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez Showmont. Hit that like button, subscribe, hype the video, like the video, comment on the video. Let me know your thoughts about the video. Let's go. This is crazy, people. WNBA, they want coverage. They want you to talk about their game. They want you to watch their games. They want all of these things. But yet they don't want you there. The WNBA has instituted a new media policy. You cannot make this up. And this media policy is designed to keep out any non-traditional media. They don't want you there. They don't want me there. They don't want any one of the podcasters there because we are non-traditional media. I do believe that there is a responsibility, whether you do a podcast, you have a blog, you have a website, you have an Instagram page, whatever it is, that whatever you talk about be done with balance and objectivity. I do believe that. So I understand why you may not want certain types there. But the WNBA has now created a new media policy that basically says, in not so many words, or so many words, if you don't work for the local newspaper, or you do not work for ESPN, or you do not work for Fox Sports, or USA Today, or the local news stations for that respective team, well, you're just not going to have access. Don't believe me? Let's take a look. Right here, and this is on multiple websites for the different teams. I will show it to you right now. So, sorry. As you can see, this is on the Connecticut Sun website. So as you can see, media credentialing, beginning. Let me zoom it in. Media credentialing. Beginning with the 2026 WNBA season, media will be credentialed for games via a Tier 1 and Tier 2 credential access system to ensure media are approved for appropriate access and connection with games, and to regulate the number of working media with access to pregame and postgame player interviews. Media will be required to meet certain criteria to receive Tier 1 access. All teams will use the same Tier 1 orange-colored credential and Tier 2 gray-colored credential system for consistency. This is league-wide. I saw this on the Chicago Sky website. It is a league-wide policy. Local market broadcast and radio crews automatically qualify for Tier 1. There you go. So if you're local, real media, traditional media, newspaper, market broadcast, radio crews, all that stuff, you got Tier 1. You are, because you have a boss who oversees you, right? Tier 1, orange credential. The criteria: local media outlets that regularly cover a team by attending the majority of a team's games and practices in the home market at least 50%. So what does this mean? This means that I started a Washington Mystics page podcast, right? I don't live in Washington, D.C. Okay? That means I could never get credentialed by the Washington Mystics for anything. All right? Even if all I'm doing is pumping out Mystics, because I don't live there, I can't cover it. Okay? National outlets that cover the league on a consistent basis and travel to a minimum of 5 games. So, national outlets, you're talking about The Athletic, you're talking about ESPN, you're talking about Fox, you're talking about the different major national publications or, media companies, whatever you want to call it. And of course, also was ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, etc. Select international outlets plus broadcast and media partners designated by the league office for select games. Outlets working on a specific project in which the team or league determined that qualifying for Tier 1 is necessary for the success of the project. So basically, there's no rule there. They'll make their decision as they go. No real rule. To qualify for a Tier 1 credential, an outlet must create original content and have a standard editorial process in which the credentialed reporters are governed. So what this means is if you're a podcaster and you're the personality on the podcast and you work for yourself, well, you don't qualify because they want controlled media. They don't want real media. They want controlled media. They want to control the narrative that is published out there, that is produced. So you could be one of the very, very highly reputable individual podcasters who do tons of WNBA content that do it on a very, very balanced way, and you won't qualify because you don't have a boss, because you are the boss. Make that make sense. I could have a podcast with 1 million subscribers. I don't, but I could. And that would not be enough for me to be credentialed by the WNBA to go cover the team because I'm the boss. Makes sense, right? Not really. But I guess if I was the boss and I had employees doing the podcast, then they could be credentialed because I'm the boss. I mean, this makes no sense. For clarity, if an entire outlet qualifies for Tier 1, an individual member of that outlet must have prior experience covering WNBA practices or games. So listen to this. The newspaper can have Tier 1, but if the reporter's not covered the team, they don't get Tier 1? Huh? What? If outlet X qualifies for Tier 1, that does not mean an MLB writer for said outlet qualifies. That is preposterous. Like, what you're telling me now is newspapers. I don't know if you, this is just so, this level is so stupid. Because what you're telling me right now is my local newspaper, the WNBA writer is sick. She can't be there, or he can't be there that day. We need to have someone fill in from the NBA beat, the MLB beat, the football beat. They're going to fill in. They're going to be there. Oh, you don't have credentials. You don't have any experience in covering the team. What? This is nuts. How do I get the experience to cover the team without having the experience to cover the team? What is going on here? Am I crazy? Please comment. Am I crazy? I am crazy, but am I crazy here? So the Washington Post can send a writer from the Washington Post, and that's the WNBA writer, and then that person's unavailable that day, and they need a replacement, a fill-in, and that person won't have the orange Tier 1 from the same publication. That's crazy. These credentials may be issued as a full season or single game pass at the discretion of the home team. Tier 1 credentials provide access to all team shoot-arounds and practices, date of game press conferences, including team announcements, head coaches, pregame pressers, standard post-game press conferences with head coaches and key players, player interviews, including the 105 to 60-minute pregame media window, and post-game additional player interviews. On-court baselines only, pregame for content capture, TV shots during a 105 to 60-minute window. On-court post-game for content capture, TV shots once the court is cleared of players. Immediacy, if available. If available. Well, they don't have enough seats and a space in the media workroom. If available. God, y'all might want to get some seats, okay? All right. So the tier one people, like I said, those are the people that just do this all day long, right? Who have an editor and a boss. Okay. Which means podcasters, they don't want you there. They don't want you there for a reason, because you ruffle feathers. We ruffle feathers. We speak about things. Now, some people clickbait. Some people do hodgepodge bullshit and don't truly report on the league or the teams. And a lot of the coverage is incredibly negative, deservedly so at times. Heck, mine has been negative, but then mine has also been positive. But a lot of the negativity can be deserved at times. Tier 2, grade credential. Criteria for obtaining a Tier 2 credential. Outlets, individuals who do not qualify for Tier 1 credential but cover the WNBA. Oh, I cover the WNBA. Media members issued a Tier 2 credential may be elevated to a single Tier Game 1 credential. Given the following, the credentialed reporters are governed. For clarity, if an entire outlet qualifies for Tier 1, an individual member of that outlet must have prior experience covering WNBA practices or games. For example, if outlet X qualifies for Tier 1, that does not mean an MLB writer for said outlet. That's just literally repeated. You didn't even say how you're being qualified. Again, doesn't make sense. These credentials will be on a game-by-game basis and are at the home team's discretion. Tier 2, access all team shoot-arounds and practices all day of game press conferences, immediacy if available, and a space in the media room workroom if available. Tier 2 credentials do not provide access to pregame interviews with players, post-game additional player interviews following the post-game press conferences, the court pregame and post-game for content capture TV shots. Let's compare this, though, to what we've got here with the Chicago Sky. I want to see if they have anything different written on this. Let's see what they have here. See, they did a little bit differently. All right, there's nothing different here with the actual explanations. Here's the reality. Here's what it is. They want to control it. They want to control the narrative. They want to control the media. They want to have the puppets that come in and don't ask questions. They want to have the puppets that come in and don't say anything, don't ruffle feathers, don't question anything. And end of the day, they want control. This is a control thing. And it's embarrassing because you want your team, you want your league coverage, you want your teams covered, but you're literally locking people out of opportunities. So, for example, if I wanted to interview a player on a piece, I couldn't do it, right? I couldn't do it. And that goes for any local podcast to a local area. If I contacted the media team to interview Lauren Betts for Washington, Caitlin Clark for Indiana, they would tell us no. They would tell us no because they want to control the questions. They would probably give you a list of questions you couldn't ask, and then they would probably chop the interview off if you asked it. So anything controversial, they wouldn't. They're trying to prevent anything controversial. Basically, they're trying to prevent real media. They're trying to prevent accountability. They don't want accountability. They don't want to have any questions that lead to anything controversial. They want to lock this stuff down and keep it in the same pool of garbage that they've been producing for quite some time. As you can see, the Zoom interviews are gone. They don't have anything Zoom related. You can't request a Zoom link to ask questions via Zoom, even though the Liberty last year gave me Zoom links, but then when I try to ask a question, I never got called. So You're going to have fewer people in press conferences, people that you can control in media sessions, because what's going to happen is they'll go up to you and say, yo, don't ask that, please. And when they say don't ask that, please, it's don't ask that or you'll lose your credential. That's literally what they're doing. Which is why you never have real questions. Which is why you never have coaches questioned on decisions. Which is why you have these different types of clear situations where it's like you just played this game, you did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, and nobody asks the question about why. Nobody asks you what happened here, what happened there, because God forbid you do that, you ruffle some feathers, you piss some people off. They don't want you there. They don't want you there. The podcasters who have helped build the interest in the league. Like let's be real. And this is all of them. Not myself. I'm included, but all of them. Whether you came on board to cover Caitlin Clark, whether you came on board to cover Angel Reese, whether you came on board to cover Paige Beckers, because those are the three real names. If you came on board to cover those individual players, they don't want you there. They don't want us there. So you are no different than if you're an Angel Reese podcast, you are no different than the Caitlin Clark podcast. And if you're a Caitlin Clark podcast, you are no different than a Reese podcast and Paige Becker's podcast, and vice versa. They don't want us there because they know that what we do is not exactly what they want. So they're literally creating a system to say, nah, you can't be here. You can't be here. You're not promoting our game the way we want you to promote our game. You're not doing it. But they want you to cover this. They want you to cover the sport, please. This is nuts. This is crazy. So all the different, and there's a lot of them out there, man. All the different pods, and a lot that I probably never heard of. Women's basketball, whatever, XYZ, that I've never even heard of. They don't want you there either. Because here's the thing. And here's what makes it so stupid. The local beat writer works for a newspaper. The editor, because people have this thought process that there's an editor who actually edits your work. No, there isn't. There's not. There is a copy editor for newspaper purposes who will edit your work to fit in the paper. Nowadays, I don't even think they edit for online production. You just post it and it goes up. No one edits writers' work in newspapers anymore. They didn't do it when I was writing for the newspaper freaking a decade ago. They didn't edit the work. The only editing was done to shorten a story for purposes of print. Online, there's no reason to edit. You don't have to. It's unlimited space. Sure, you have word restrictions because you want to keep it to people reading it. But realistically, the people that you think are the editors of a newspaper, come on, they're not. I remember when I was a kid, there was a writer that I thought was just blasting our local team, and I couldn't stand him. I mean, he's very well known. I couldn't stand. I was so upset. I wrote an email to the editor of the newspaper. He was the editor of the sports section. It's a title, man. It's bogus. Because when I emailed the guy, he's like, I'm not his boss. I'm like, but you're the editor. I learned that the editor in a newspaper is bullshit. It's a title. Because when I went to work for the newspaper, I learned that real fast, that there's no such thing. There's an editor of the paper. It's like, that's just the boss. It's not a person who's literally, here's the story. I'm going to read the story. Oh, typo. Oh, we got to take that out. No. It doesn't work that way. It don't work that way. So WNBA wants to control the media. They want to lock out the media they don't like. And basically, if you're not a newspaper or a national television station or local TV station, you won't get in. You won't get in. It's just that simple. What are y'all thoughts of this? Because I know this is affecting a few people that have applied for credentials. And I'll be real. If you're not in a local market for any team, then you'll never get credentialed. So if you are, then you could. But even then, you don't have a boss. You are the boss. This tier 2 credentialing thing right here, I mean, the outlet or individual produces consistent quality reporting. You understand how subjective that is? It's an opinion. You know what that means? That means if they don't like that you said something negative about the team, that you critique the team, they can say, well, we don't consider that quality reporting. The outlet consistently attends games, practices, or shoot arounds. Well, you missed one, you're removed. Remember, the podcast world, they got full-time jobs typically. They're not able to go to shoot arounds and practices every day. They might get to a one here and there, but they're not able to do that because this is a part-time thing that most do. They would all be so happy to be able to do it full-time, I'm sure, and enjoy the fruits of it, I'm sure. And if the individual recently obtained an editor and is such like standard editorial process, podcasts don't have standard editorial processes. There's none. So I think even some of the podcasts that think they can get credentialed, they don't qualify for this. If you actually read it carefully, they don't qualify based on this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is controlled media. And and now you know why you never get real questions. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Hype the video, like the video, comment on the video. Appreciate y'all. This is Her Game, Her Way Women's Basketball, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.